Hello, dear one. My name is Naniya from Love and Freedom Life Strategies. I'm a health and life coach. I've been reading through the Psalms, and this morning I read Psalm 127, and something really jumped out at me. I'll read you the first two verses. Unless the Lord builds a house, the work of the builders is wasted. Unless the Lord protects a city, guarding it with sentries will do no good. It is useless for you to work so hard from early morning until late at night, anxiously working for food to eat. For God gives rest to his loved ones. About half the translations I looked at said this: God gives rest or God gives sleep to the beloved. The other half said, for while they sleep, God provides for them. For God gives blessings to his beloved ones in their sleep. God gives blessings to his beloved one in her sleep, in his sleep. God provides even while they sleep. These are all quotes from different translations that I looked at this morning. Do you hear this idea of pure grace? We strive, we work, especially for finances. We worry so much about our finances. We work so hard. We get up early. We go to bed late. We're running ourselves ragged. And all of it done with an anxious heart, with anxiety, with worry. There's such a suffering to it. And in this verse, I hear God say, I'm going to provide for you, my beloved. I want to provide for you. I saw a quote the other day that talked about how our workaholism, our constant striving, what this verse is describing, is actually a form of practical atheism. We deny with our patterns and with our lives that we believe that God exists and that God has promised to provide for us. Who created all the wealth of the earth? Who created, I grew up with an old Baptist hymn, God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, the wealth in every mile. God owns it all. We are God's beloved. He wants to provide for us. I also grew up with a song we sang in Sunday school quite often, Jehovah Jireh, my provider. And the words are, Jehovah Jireh, my provider, his grace is sufficient for me, for me, for me. But my little brother, David, when he was quite young, he thought the words were, well, this is what he would sing, Jehovah Jireh, jump down beside you. I love that. Jehovah Jireh, my provider, jump down beside you. God is not far off. God is not unaware of our needs. And God is not impotent to do something about it. In fact, God is mighty to save. And for so long in my life, I have understood that actually finances, money, are one of the easiest things for God to provide for us. God doesn't have to melt a human heart. God doesn't have to, sometimes in our lives or the lives of ones we love, God, not that his hands are tied, but God isn't willing to force humans to do anything. God wants to woo us with his love. When it comes to money, there's no hearts involved. There's no worry about forcing anything. God can provide. If you search on YouTube, God's provision or God providing, God provide, there are a bunch of really cool stories, people on YouTube telling their stories of how God has specifically provided for them just how they needed. It's wonderful. And I remember as a young person, I was raising money because I was getting ready to go to Russia with the navigators. And they had done some training with us about how to fundraise, and what I needed to do was raise a certain amount of money per month. I basically needed to raise a salary, a monthly income for myself. And it was quite a bit, because the navigators were very keen on making sure that we were well taken care of. I was discouraged. I had talked to everyone I'd known. I had sent out letters. I had personal visits with people, and I was still really short, and the deadline was coming soon that I was supposed to be going, and I wouldn't be able to go unless I had raised all of the support that I needed. And I cried out to God for help. And I think this is such a big part of it, is that we forget to ask. We forget to cry out to God for help. We strive, we get up early, we work late, we try to do it all on our own. Practical atheism. And you know, that morning, I remember exactly where I was. I cried out to God for help. And I started receiving phone calls. And by the end of that morning, I had been promised, I had been pledged $200 a month by a couple people, which topped me up to where I needed to be. This is such a huge commitment. I was going for 2 years, and I had people promising that they would give every single month. Actually, it was a couple people at $100 a month each. $100 a month to this young person going over to Russia to show the love of Jesus to people. When we step out in obedience and trust, God, the maker of heaven and earth, the God who owns everything, longs to provide for us. It might not look exactly the way we wanted it to. What we need to remember is that this provision is available. Pure grace. Not because of our hard work, not because of our striving, but pure grace from a loving, adoring parent who wants to provide what we need and has the ability to provide what we need. Pure grace. I know so many of us have grown up steeped in an environment where what we got was because we earned it, and that's the only way we got it, including in our faith. You know, we entered into this club of the church, this club of Christianity, by admitting that we were in desperate need, by admitting that we needed God. And then once we were in the club, we had to pretend for all we were worth that actually we didn't need God anymore, and that we had it all together, and that we were just fine. And we had to work. That's not the way it's supposed to be. To continue to admit our need, to continue to turn to God in loving trust with an open heart, and to say, Creator, Maker, Master of the universe, provide for me what it is that I need today. Provide for my family, for those I love, for my neighborhood, for my country, for my world. Let us today practice together this turning in our hearts in loving trust and asking for what it is that we need. Thank you for being with me today. Let's continue to practice together. Peace to you.